The announcement came between dessert and coffee. My mother tapped her glass lightly with the back of her fork, a soft, deliberate chime that cut through the hum of conversation. The private dining room at the club was warm, almost overly so, the air conditioning struggling against too many bodies and too much polite laughter. Porcelain plates shifted. A chair leg scraped across hardwood. My father stood first. He always did. "Before we finish tonight," he said, smoothing the front of his jacket, "your mother and I want to clarify something about the estate." His tone was measured. Public. Controlled. My siblings straightened almost imperceptibly. "We've updated the will," he continued, "and we've decided to remove our youngest." He didn't say my name. He didn't need to. "You've chosen your own path. We respect that. But inheritance is about continuity, stability, alignment with family values." A polite silence followed, then a few quiet nods. Someone cleared their throat. My mother added, gently, "It's not personal. It's structural." My sister's smile was small but visible. My brother looked down at his wine, as if studying it. No one looked at me directly. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I folded my napkin once, placed it beside my plate, and let the air settle. The ceiling vent hummed faintly above us. They thought the conversation had concluded something. They didn't realize something had already changed. Being underestimated rarely arrives as an insult. It usually comes disguised as practicality. "You're reasonable. You'll understand. You don't need this." In my family, I was the adaptable one. The calm one. The one who wouldn't make a scene. That reputation formed early and calcified quietly. Over time, it became convenient. Have you ever noticed how easily people reassign your value when you stop fitting their design? Not loudly. Not cruelly. Just administratively. There is a particular kind of dismissal reserved for the child who does not compete for visibility. It sounds respectful. It feels permanent. If you understand quiet resilience, you can subscribe. These stories are rarely dramatic, but they are precise. And if you've ever been underestimated in a room that assumed your silence meant agreement, you can leave your experience in the comments. I never argued with their perception of me. That night, I didn't feel anger. I felt recognition. Because today wasn't like the others. My father built the language of authority in our house. He spoke first. He summarized conversations. He approved conclusions. Even when my mother disagreed, she framed it as refinement rather than opposition. Money flowed through him. Decisions appeared to originate with him. My siblings learned to position themselves accordingly. My brother aligned early. He entered the family business straight out of university and adopted my father's cadence within a year. My sister preferred proximity over participation. She attended board dinners, charity galas, holiday events, visible, agreeable, supportive. I handled logistics. When relatives visited, I booked flights. When documents needed scanning, I scanned them. When vendors required clarification, I made the calls. I was efficient, quiet, dependable. Two memories return often. The first, I was 19, sitting at the end of a long conference table during a holiday season planning meeting. My father paused mid-discussion and said, "You're good with details. Take notes." It wasn't a request. By the end of the night, I had reorganized the entire event timeline. He thanked me privately, then presented the structure publicly as a collective effort. The second, 3 years later, when the accountant couldn't locate an archived contract, my father turned to me in front of everyone and said, "You know where everything is." I did. I retrieved it. The meeting continued. I was never dismissed outright. I was assigned reliability. In family systems, reliability can be mistaken for compliance, especially when it doesn't demand credit. They assumed compliance was permanent. Reliability produces access. Over time, I became the point of contact for small operational matters, then medium ones. Eventually, I handled estate scheduling, document circulation, trust correspondence, and digital record organization. My father preferred conversations. I preferred documentation. When lawyers emailed drafts, they copied me. When revisions were needed, I tracked them. When signatures were required, I coordinated them. It was efficient. No one objected. The family trust existed long before I understood its architecture. It held the real assets, property portfolios, investment accounts, business shares. The will governed personal effects and distribution language. The trust governed control. Most people conflate the two. Wills distribute after death. Trusts operate continuously. As trustee, One oversees fiduciary responsibilities, asset management, distribution compliance, voting rights tied to shares held within the trust. The trustee's signature activates decisions. Several years ago, during what was described as a routine estate restructure, the attorneys recommended updating governance to streamline oversight. My father disliked administrative burden. My siblings had limited availability. "You're organized," he said to me at the time. "You handle details anyway. It's procedural." So I became successor trustee, then co-trustee. Eventually, sole acting trustee upon execution of the final amendment. The documents were signed in a quiet office on a weekday afternoon. No ceremony. No announcement at dinner. I stored the originals in the safe deposit box. I updated the digital ledger. I confirmed the registration of trust-held shares with corporate counsel. No one celebrated governance. Access teaches you what authority often ignores. 6 months before the dinner, our estate attorney requested a review meeting. Tax regulations had shifted. Asset valuations required adjustment. The trust structure needed minor amendments to maintain efficiency and compliance. We met on a Tuesday morning. My parents sat across from counsel. I sat beside them with a binder open and a tablet ready for notes. The amendment package was straightforward but consequential. First, confirmation of the trustee role. My parents formally stepped back from day-to-day administrative authority, retaining beneficiary status but transferring operational control to the acting trustee, me. Second, consolidation of voting rights for the business shares held inside the trust. Previously, voting required dual signatures. The amendment streamlined that requirement to a single trustee authorization. Third, clarification that any major asset disposition, sale, transfer, pledge, required trustee execution. It reduces friction, the attorney explained. My father nodded. Efficiency is fine. He initialed each page without hesitation. My mother reviewed more carefully but signed. The effective date was immediate upon execution. I filed the amendment with our records. I notified the corporate secretary of the updated signature authority. I scheduled confirmation calls with the investment managers. Nothing changed socially. At family dinners, my father still summarized decisions. My siblings still deferred. But legally, the architecture had shifted. The trust owned the majority of everything material, and the trust now required my authorization to act. By the time we gathered that evening, the structure had already changed. After announcing my removal from the will, my father continued speaking. "Legacy," he said, "is about stewardship, about ensuring what we've built remains in steady hands." He glanced toward my brother. "Experience matters. Alignment matters." A few relatives nodded. "Risk-taking has its place," he added, "but governance requires discipline." My sister reached for her water glass but didn't drink. I understood the framing. Independent career choices translated to unpredictability. Physical distance from the family business translated to disloyalty. "We believe this structure reflects responsibility," my mother said softly. There it was again. Structure. They were speaking about documents without distinguishing which documents controlled what. My father looked down the length of the table. "If anyone has concerns, we're open," he said. "Transparency matters." He looked at me briefly then away. "Does anyone want to add something?" The room stilled. I didn't stand. I didn't reach for the glass. "Just one clarification," I said. My voice carried without strain. "You've updated the will. That's clear. But the majority of the estate assets are held in the family trust, not the will." I paused long enough for the distinction to register. My father's expression remained composed. I continued. "Under the amendment executed in March, the acting trustee holds consolidated voting authority over trust-held assets. That amendment was filed and confirmed with counsel and corporate governance 6 months ago." My brother's fork stopped midday. "As of that execution," I said, "any major asset decision requires trustee authorization." I let the sentence sit without embellishment. "Which means," I added gently, "removal from the will does not alter trustee authority or control over trust-governed assets." Silence did not fall immediately. It spread. My mother blinked first. My sister looked at my father. My brother lowered his fork slowly to his plate without taking the bite he had prepared. No one interrupted. No one laughed. The dessert in front of me remained untouched. Confusion manifests quietly among people accustomed to control. My father adjusted his cuff. "The trust was administrative," he said carefully. "It is operational," I replied. My sister reached for her phone beneath the table. The movement was small but visible. An uncle leaned toward his wife and whispered something too low to hear. My brother finally spoke. That amendment was procedural, he said, though the certainty had thinned. Procedural changes are still binding, I answered. My tone did not shift. Across the table, my mother's composure remained, but her gaze recalculated. My father inhaled slowly. We can review the documents, he said. Of course, I replied. They are on file with counsel and the corporate secretary. The language of authority had moved. Not dramatically, not theatrically, but perceptibly. People began to understand that inheritance and control were no longer aligned. The hierarchy in the room adjusted itself in increments. No one raised their voice. No one accused. But the assumption that I had been removed from power dissolved in real time. After coffee was served, my father asked if we could speak privately. His tone had shifted from declarative to measured. We stepped into the hallway outside the dining room. The carpeting muted our footsteps. This doesn't need to become adversarial, he said. It isn't, I replied. The amendment was meant for efficiency, he continued. Not leverage. Efficiency and authority aren't mutually exclusive, I said. He studied me differently now. Not as the adaptable child. As the acting trustee. You would consult us before making significant decisions, he said. Consultation is appropriate, I answered. Execution remains with the trustee. There it was. A boundary articulated without hostility. Dependency surfaced in the space between sentences. He nodded once, slowly. The following week, I sent 3 emails. One to corporate counsel confirming trustee authority and requesting updated signature records be circulated to the board. One to the investment managers reiterating that asset reallocation proposals should be directed to the acting trustee for approval. One to the family accountant requesting quarterly reporting be addressed accordingly. Each message was concise, professional, neutral. I did not reference the dinner. Within days, confirmations arrived. Updated governance documents reflected the amendment language. Vendor portals listed my credentials as primary authorization. There was no confrontation. There was administrative clarity. Power did not expand. It simply formalized what had already been executed. That night at the club, after the hallway conversation, I returned briefly to the table. Conversations had resumed, though at a lower volume. I placed my napkin beside my plate. Thank you for dinner, I said. No one objected. I collected my coat from the back of the chair. The fabric slid softly against wood. As I walked toward the exit, I felt eyes tracking not my humiliation, but the recalibration. The door closed behind me with a gentle click. I didn't need the microphone. Authority and respect are often confused. One can exist without the other. My parents believed authority flowed from announcement, from visible hierarchy, from the will read aloud at a dining table. But control resides where signatures bind. Being underestimated granted me something visibility would not have, uninterrupted access. No one scrutinizes the person who organizes the files. No one questions the quiet child who handles logistics. Underestimation lowers surveillance. When the amendment was signed, nothing felt triumphant. It felt procedural. Necessary. Clean. The dinner did not create power. It exposed misunderstanding. I do not intend to weaponize authority. Fiduciary duty requires neutrality, prudence, documentation. What changed was not affection. It was alignment. They removed my inheritance. They did not remove my responsibility. Control, when structured correctly, does not argue. It does not shout. It does not retaliate. It updates governance records and proceeds accordingly. And once updated, it does not revert because someone preferred the previous narrative. Control doesn't announce itself. It simply updates the record.